Hello, everyone. My name is Travis Hill, and I am the designer of Union Station. And I'm here to tell you very briefly how to play this game. So this is a small economic cube rails style game, except there are no cubes; they're all discs. There is a map of Chicago and the surrounding areas, a railroad value track, a dividend track, some Chicago Union Station Company stuff, and the offer queue, which has shares that are going to come out. You also have the opening shares, and in this game, this comes with these money trackers right here, including some discs with which to use them, and a player aid. Now, I am going to be a little bit of a snob over here, and I'm actually going to use poker chips. I do suggest that you use poker chips if you have them. If you don't have them, get you some. They're great. Okay, so hey, this is Union Station, and I'm gonna just show you how to play. So real quick, at the beginning of the game, everybody's gonna have $30, and there's going to be an offer of one of each of the 5 companies in the game. Every company has a number of different shares, a different quantity of shares, and you're going to auction off one of each. So starting with some random person, you're going to start with one person and continue bidding around the table on the top share. And then you pay the money to the bank. Whoever wins, you pay the money to the bank, and then they get the share. So let's say I got Pennsylvania. I got this white share, and I got it for $12. Well, I'm going to pay in my $12. Hooray! Pay my $12. And then also, I'm going to set the initial value of that company on the railroad value track. So I spent $12, so I'm going to put this disc for white for Pennsylvania on 12. And that's it. And we're going to continue around the board until everybody has purchased, until all the shares have been sold off. You may or may not start off with a share. Who knows? So as the game goes on, or as the initial auction goes on, this is going to get populated. Now, the person who owns a share in the lowest valued company, they get to take the first turn, which, surprise, is me. So on your turn, you get to do one of 3 things. You can buy stock, you can sell stock, or you can lay track. So let's talk about probably the easiest one, and that is laying track. Laying track is the left side of the board. When you lay track, a couple of things happen. First of all, and most importantly, you can only lay track if you own a share of that company. So you're going to own shares of multiple companies. You get to decide which company builds track that turn on your turn. So I only own one share, and that's the white share. So I'm going to lay track. Now, whenever I lay track, the first track always starts adjacent to Chicago because that's where everybody is initiated from. So I'm going to lay track here, and I'm going to go south. Now, I know you might be thinking, but Travis, why are you going to go south over here? What's important about this? Well, these spaces on the board are going to increase the value of your company. So if you notice right here, there is a gold hex. Whenever a company builds into the gold hex, the value of that company increases. And what does it increase by? It increases by 2. So right here, I build in here, I go over here. Instead of white being worth 12, it is now worth 14. Hooray! Now, there are some stipulations about how you can build. First of all, every time you build, you must lay 2 discs on the board. They have to come from the same company. Additionally, future builds hexes can only hold 2 discs. So if somebody later decides to build here and here, these 2 spaces are now blocked off from anybody else building there. Now, there's a lot of space, and so you're going to be fine, but that's how that works, all right? Additionally, there are other places on the board. There are 5 cities, excluding Chicago, on the board. And every company actually has a destination city. So right here, Pennsylvania at the bottom, it wants to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is way over here. Now, if white, instead of going south, if white decided to go east and it builds its way all the way across here and it connects, some of these cities, or it doesn't connect any of these towns, let's just say it just screams straight across. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a good idea, but you never know. So what happens is that whenever you build into the destination city, 2 things occur. First of all, the value of that company increases by 5, which is a lot. So white now, instead of being worth 14, is worth 19. That's a lot of money, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, this company can no longer build. White can no longer be built in this game. That's it. You're still able to get shares, you're still able to adjust things, but white can no longer be built. And that's important because that is one of the game end triggers. Now, there are other cities on the board. So let's say that White doesn't just go to Pittsburgh. Let's say before that it takes a pit stop in Cleveland. Well, companies can go to other cities, just not their destination ones, and that's perfectly fine. If they do that, their value increases by 1, 2, 3, not by 5. So gold spaces is 2, other cities is 3, and your destination city is 5. The last thing that happens whenever you lay track is the offer becomes available. So we auctioned off one of each share of the 5 companies at the beginning of the game. Well, the rest of the shares are shuffled up randomly, and they're face down over here. Now you do see the top share because you need to know what's coming up. So whenever someone takes a lay track action, you actually take the top share, you place it in the share value +1, and then you flip over the next share. And somebody builds again, and you slide this down, right? It's a conveyor belt, and then you flip over the next share. And guess what? If somebody builds again, slide these down, move this over. So this queue is full until someone buys a share. So hey, let's talk about the second possible action on your turn, and that is buying a share. Now, it's pretty straightforward. You have money that you spend to buy a share. The value, the cost, the purchase price of that share is, wait for it, whatever the value is over here. So blue, right here in this +3 spot, is sitting at $24. Well, I'm going to take 24 of my lovely poker chips, my dollars, and I'm going to give them to the bank, and I'm going to take this. Now, a bunch of things can happen. First of all, whenever I get this, I pay the money, and then the offer queue extends, right? We've already talked about this. So I get this blue share. I paid the $24. Then I advance. Now, there is a +1, +2, and +3. This was in the +3 space. Therefore, its value increases by 1, 2, 3 spaces. So it's no longer worth 24. It's now worth $27. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but there are these little gold spaces over here. This is important. Anytime a company passes into or through one of those spaces, it triggers a dividend. And that is how you get money. So whenever a dividend happens, you increase the dividend marker 1 space on the board, and then you pay out the money. This is worth $27. That $27 is paid out to all shareholders of that company, divided between the shareholders, right? So if I'm the only person that owns 1 share of Chicago and Milwaukee, then I get all $27. However, if it's divided between 2 people, we take that amount, we divide it in half, and we round up. So 27 divided by 2 is 13.5, rounded up is 14. So each of us would get $14 from the bank. Hooray! The other thing that happens whenever you purchase a share is actually a historical thing. So Chicago Union Station, the building was actually owned by the individual companies. Like there was somebody who owned it, but everybody kind of owned shares in the building. So there's this kind of like weird semi-cooperative aspect of this. So what happens is that whenever you purchase a share in a company, you actually advance on this track. So whenever I purchase this blue share, blue is actually going to advance into the next space. And this is going to continue. Let's say someone buys white, let's say someone buys orange, let's say a black comes out, and then let's say a green finally comes out and someone buys it. So whenever every company is either in or past this first space, then a special dividend gets paid out. The first dividend is going to be $10, and that gets paid out to all 5 companies. But once again, it's divided between shareholders. So if I'm the only person that owns blue, I would get $10. But if it's still me and my friend over here, we would get $5 each. Cool? It doesn't matter if you are past that space. It's only the space that everybody crosses into and crosses over. Okay. As the game goes on, more shares are going to come out. You're going to have some weird stuff going on over here to where some have been maxed out, and there's this one sole company that just hasn't been bought yet. Whenever that one finally comes out and moves into the next space, guess what? Now $15 gets paid out, and then $20 gets paid out. Now, that's it. It's just like cash. It's like some liquidation for everybody. Everybody gets a little bit of stuff, which is nice. The thing that it doesn't do, though, is it does not advance the dividend marker. Rad. So, 1, you can lay track. 2, you can buy shares. The third thing that you can do on your turn is you can sell shares. Now, selling shares is real easy. You take all of the shares of a company that you want to get rid of, and you sell them. You sell them for their value multiplied by the number of shares that you own. So Blue is currently at $27. I own 2 shares of Blue. I sell them. I now get $54 from the bank. $54. Now, first of all, these are out of the game. They're gone. That's it. They don't get factored into anything else for the remainder of the game. The other thing that happens is that the value of the company drops down 1 row. So instead of being worth $27 a share, it's now only worth $21 a share. Selling shares is really good at the beginning of the game whenever you need some extra cash, and it's really good at the end of the game whenever you can kind of, like poke your friends a little bit. All right. So that's it. That's how the game's played. You lay track, you buy stock, and you sell stock. And you go until one of 3 game end conditions occurs. 1, this gets increased all the way to 20. So whenever the dividend space hits all the way up to 20, at the end of that player's turn, the game ends. Whenever all of the shares in this queue are bought, whenever the last one's bought, then the game ends at the end of that player's turn. Or finally, all track has been laid. Once again, track laid means that they have reached their destination city or they have run out of discs. Whenever that happens, at the end of that player's turn, the game ends. Then it's pretty simple. You take all of the cash that you have on hand and you add the value of all of the shares in companies that you own up here. So white is worth $22. So this share is worth $22. Let's say I had a share of green. This is worth $14. I add all this together and whoever has the most money wins. And that, my friends, is Union Station.